The A says, the A says, every letter makes a sound, the A says. And the B says, the B says, every letter makes a sound, the B says. The C says, the C says, every letter makes a sound, the C says. The D says, the D says, every letter makes a sound, the D says. The E says, the E says, every letter makes a sound, the E says. The F says, the F says, every letter makes a sound, the F says. The G says, the G says, every letter makes a sound, the G says. The H says, the H says, every letter makes a sound, the H says. The I says, the I says, every letter makes a sound, the I says. The J says, the J says, every letter makes a sound, the J says. K. The K says, the K says, every letter makes a sound, the K says.
L.
The L says, the L says, every letter makes a sound, the L says.
Oh.
The M says, the M says, every letter makes a sound, the M says. The N says, the N says, every letter makes a sound, the N says. But the O says, the O says, every letter makes a sound, the O says. The P says, the P says, every letter makes a sound, the P says. Now let's review. The Q says, the Q says, every letter makes a sound, the Q says. The R says, the R says, every letter makes a sound, the R says. The S says, the S says, every letter makes a sound, the S says. The T says, the T says, every letter makes a sound, the T says. The U says, the U says, every letter makes a sound, the U says. The V says, the V says, every letter makes a sound, the V says. W.
When I play it over here, the room, it starts to shake. In my ear, what I found, it's the sound that you make. Wow!
This learning letter stuff is fun. Thanks.
You are welcome, don't you know?
It's time for us to go.
This lesson, it is through.
What is the sound of it? W.
The X says, the X says, every letter makes a sound, the X says. The Y says, the Y says, every letter makes a sound, the Y says. Lullaby, Z, Z, Z. Catch some Z's when day is done. Zzz is your sound. Now go to sleep, my little one.
Some letters are made of straight lines, and some more curvy and round. But every letter makes a sound.
The A says ah.
The B says b b b b. The C says k.
And the D says D.
The E says eh.
And the F says f.
The G says G.
And the H says
The I says
And the J says J.
the K says k.
And the L says oh 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 oh.
The M says mmm.
And the N says
The O says ah 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 ah.
and the P says
The Q says qua.
And the R says r, r, r.
The S says
And the T says t.
the U says
And the V says V.
The W says wah 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 wah.
and the X says
The Y says yeah.
And the C says Z. And those are all the letters in the factoid.